My girlfriend said, he's just my work husband. I said, that's cute. Then I became her boss's favorite lunch buddy. I'm 29, been with Paige for a year. She works at a marketing agency downtown, and one Sunday she's making pancakes when she casually mentions Drew. Oh, you'll meet Drew at the holiday party. He's my work husband. I look up. Your what? Work husband. It's a thing. We sit next to each other, we get coffee together, we vent. Every office has them. So he's just a friend. He's my work husband. Different thing. Closer than a friend, but obviously not romantic. She says it like she's explaining the weather. I take a bite of pancake. How close? We text after hours sometimes. He knows my Starbucks order. He brings me soup when I'm sick. Normal stuff. Normal stuff. I let it sit. Can I meet him? At the party. You'll love him. Everyone does. 3 weeks later, we're at the holiday party. Drew is exactly what I pictured. Tall, friendly, gives me a firm handshake and immediately starts telling me a story about Paige like I should already know the punchline. Did she tell you about the printer incident? Oh man, you have to hear this. Paige is laughing before he even gets to the joke. I watch them for 10 minutes. He puts his hand on her elbow twice. She fixes the collar of his shirt at one point without even thinking about it. I sip my drink and smile. Across the room, I notice a woman in her early 40s standing alone by the food table, picking at the spring rolls. Paige had pointed her out earlier as her boss, Diane. She's intense, total workaholic, eats lunch at her desk every day. I walk over. Are these any good? They're catered, so no. I laugh. We talk for 20 minutes. Turns out Diane lived in Bangkok for 2 years and is obsessed with finding real Thai food in our city. I mention a place I love by the train station. Her eyes light up. I've been looking for a place like that for 3 years. You should try it. Tuesday is their best day. Fresh delivery. Are you free Tuesday? She's joking. Sort of. Honestly, I work from home. I could be. She gives me her card. I put it in my pocket. On the drive home, Paige is glowing. See? I told you Drew was great. Yeah, he seems nice. Met your boss too. Diane? Ugh, she's so dry. I can never read her. I thought she was funny. Trust me, she's not. I let it go. The next Tuesday, I text Diane. Still on for Thai? She replies in 30 seconds. Yes, please save me. We meet at the place by the train station. She orders 3 dishes and a beer at noon. We end up talking for 2 hours about food, travel, and the marketing industry. She is sharp, hilarious, and the opposite of dry. At one point, she asks how I know Paige. She's my girlfriend. Diane blinks. Wait, Paige is your girlfriend? Yeah, huh, that's all she says. Huh. We schedule another lunch for next Tuesday, then the Tuesday after that. By the 4th lunch, Diane is texting me memes on the weekend and asking if I want to come to a food festival she's reviewing for her old blog. I don't tell Paige. I don't hide it either. I just don't bring it up, the same way she doesn't bring up Drew. 6 weeks in, Paige comes home from work and stops dead in the doorway. Why is Diane texting me about you? What did she say? Paige reads from her phone in a flat voice. Tell your boyfriend the new pad CEW place opens Thursday. We have to go. She looks up. We have to go. Oh yeah, Diane and I get lunch sometimes. Sometimes. Tuesdays mostly. You have been getting lunch with my boss every Tuesday for 6 weeks. She's a foodie. I'm a foodie. We hit it off at your work party. You don't even like networking events. I wasn't networking. I was eating spring rolls. Paige's face cycles through 3 different colors. This is so inappropriate. She's my boss. Is it inappropriate? You said work friendships are normal. Drew is your work husband. Diane is just my lunch buddy. Smaller title. Same idea. It is not the same idea. Why isn't it? She starts to answer. Stops. Starts again. Because she controls my job. And Drew controls what exactly? Your weekend plans? That is completely different. Tell me how. She can't. She paces. You need to stop seeing her. She's my friend. She is my boss. Do you understand how weird this is at the office? Do you know what people think? What do people think? They think you're flirting with her. They think I'm sleeping my way through the company through my boyfriend somehow. They are talking about me. Huh. People talking. That sounds rough. She knows what I'm doing. She glares at me. Stop it. Stop what? I'm being totally innocent. Just 2 people who like Thai food catching up. You know how it is. Her phone buzzes. She looks at it. Her face drops. What? She turns the phone to me. It's Diane. Group text with Paige and 3 other people from her team. Heads up team. I'm pushing the Monday meeting to Tuesday afternoon. Have a standing lunch, I can't move. Paige stares at me. Have a standing lunch, I can't move? I shrugged. Tuesdays are sacred. Her phone buzzed again in her hand, and whatever she read this time made the color drain from her face in 1 slow second. She read it out loud. A forwarded screenshot from someone on her team. Under Diane's message, a laughing emoji and the words, "Your boyfriend is literally her favorite person." How did this happen? Paige's hand was shaking. She set the phone on the counter. This is affecting how my team sees me. They're laughing at me. I leaned against the fridge. How does Drew affect how your team sees you? She went quiet. Not the thinking kind. The kind where someone knows the answer and doesn't want to say it out loud. Do people joke about Drew the way they're joking about Diane and me? That's different. Drew and I have been there longer. So it's about seniority. Or is it about who's comfortable and who isn't? She grabbed her phone and walked out, and the bedroom door closed harder than it needed to. The next day, Diane invited me to a team appreciation dinner. I texted back that I was in. She sent a voice memo, laughing, told me she'd handle everything, but I had to try her homemade curry paste. That evening, when I came out of the shower, Paige was standing in the bedroom doorway with her arms crossed. You are not going to that dinner. I pulled a shirt over my head. Your boss invited me. Saying no would be rude. Making an effort is shaking hands at a party, not becoming her personal food critic. I sat on the edge of the bed and tied my shoes. Silence bothered her more than any comeback. She softened, sat next to me. I'm not trying to control you. I just feel like you're proving a point. The point is made. Can we talk about it instead of whatever this is? For a moment, it almost worked. She sounded like the Paige I fell in love with. Okay, does Drew text you every day? Pause. 1 second. 2. Not every day. I pulled out my phone. The week before, she'd left her messages open on her laptop. I hadn't read through. I didn't need to. The scroll bar told me everything. I'd taken a screenshot of the dates. Every day. Morning, afternoon, late night replies with emojis and voice notes. 2 straight months. No gaps. She looked at it and closed her eyes. I'm not trying to embarrass you. I'm showing you what it feels like when someone dismisses your concern and calls it normal. That's what you did. For weeks. Long quiet. Then she said something I wasn't ready for. Drew asked me to get drinks Friday. Just us. I said yes before any of this started. I haven't canceled. My chest got tight. And you didn't tell me. It's not a big deal. Then why didn't you mention it? She picked at the comforter. I'll cancel. I'll text him right now. Go. Have a good time. I mean it. She turned. What? What? If it's as innocent as you say, it's fine, right? That's what you keep telling me. She searched my face for the trap. There wasn't one. I was tired of being the one who sounded crazy. She agreed and went to the bathroom and ran the faucet way longer than she needed to. So now I had two things on the calendar: Paige's Friday drinks with Drew and Diane's team dinner the following Wednesday. I wasn't scheming anymore. The game part of this was fading and something heavier was taking its place. I was just paying attention now, watching the pieces move on their own and seeing where they landed. Friday, she came out of the bedroom in a top she usually saved for date nights with me. Hair done. Makeup more than usual. She stood by the hallway mirror adjusting her earrings, then turned to me. Do I look okay? You look great. You always do. Something flickered. Not a smile, a flinch. She grabbed her bag and walked out without kissing me goodbye. I made pasta. Ate alone at the table with the TV off. Didn't text. Didn't check her location. At 9, she texted, heading home soon. I sent back a thumbs up. 10:45, I heard her key. She came in already talking, dropping her bag, kicking off her shoes. It was totally chill. 2 drinks. A few other people were supposed to come. They canceled, so it was just us, but it was fine. All in one breath. She walked past me toward the sink, and that's when I caught it. A scent. Floral and warm. She'd left wearing vanilla. This wasn't vanilla. Other people were supposed to come. 3 others. They all bailed. So you got dressed up for a group outing that became a one-on-one date. It was not a date. Did Drew know they canceled before you got there? I don't know. Maybe. But he didn't tell you. She opened her mouth. Nothing came out. She set the glass on the counter and walked past me toward the bedroom, and I sat there staring at the dark TV, watching my own reflection stare back. Saturday was tense but manageable. We moved around each other like 2 people sharing a waiting room. Polite enough not to make it weird, but not warm enough to pretend everything was fine. She didn't bring up Friday. I didn't ask. Sunday morning I was making coffee when she came out holding her phone like evidence, face pale. Diane emailed the team about Wednesday's dinner. Drew is bringing a +1. Okay, he told me he wasn't seeing anyone. That sentence sat there. I set my mug down slow. Why would Drew tell you whether he's seeing someone? I watched her hear her own words played back. It came up in conversation. We talk about everything. That's what work husbands do. And you believed him? Why would he lie to me? I picked up my mug and took another sip. The silence did the work. Paige stood there a few more seconds, then turned and walked back to the bedroom with the phone pressed against her chest like she was protecting it from me. The rest of Sunday was bad. Not fighting bad. Quiet bad. She drifted through the apartment, picking up her phone every few minutes, staring at it, putting it face down on whatever surface was closest, picking it back up 30 seconds later. At one point I came out to refill my water and she was sitting on the couch with her phone in her lap, staring at the wall. She muttered, almost to herself, "It doesn't matter who he brings." I set my glass under the faucet. I didn't say anything. "I know," she said. "That's worse." And that's when the thing I had been avoiding caught up to me. This wasn't about double standards anymore. Paige was hurt, genuinely hurt that Drew was bringing someone. I felt sick. The deep kind. The kind that sits in the bottom of your stomach and stays there. My girlfriend might have real feelings for another man, and I might have been watching it happen in slow motion for weeks, telling myself I was being strategic when really I was just afraid to ask the question that actually mattered. That night we were both in bed, lights off, lying on our backs like strangers in a hotel room. She rolled over, voice small. "I don't want to go to Diane's dinner." "Why not?" "I just don't feel like it." "Paige, why not?" Long silence. "Because I don't want to see him with someone else while you're sitting next to Diane laughing at inside jokes and I'm just there in the middle." I turned my head on the pillow. "You just said you don't want to see him with someone else." Every muscle in her face locked up. "That's not what I meant." "That's exactly what you said." She rolled away, curled up with her back to me. I lay there turning the sentence over like a rock I couldn't stop picking up. I didn't sleep that night. Not even a little. She'd said it out loud. She said it to me. And no matter how many times she tried to take it back, those words were in the room now, and they weren't going anywhere. Tuesday, I went to lunch with Diane. Halfway through, she put down her fork. Paige came into my office this morning and asked me to uninvite Drew. I stared. She did what? Said it was a team dynamic issue. I told her no, he's coming. She watched me for a second. Can I be honest? I've worked with Paige 2 years. She and Drew have a dynamic that makes people uncomfortable. I've had a comment about it. Favoritism. They cover for each other, take each other's side in meetings, eat lunch alone every day. A teammate said it feels like a clique. My stomach turned. I thought you should know. You're clearly smart enough to have noticed. I sat there looking at my half-eaten pad thai, and I couldn't pick up the fork again. Diane moved the conversation to something lighter, but I barely heard her. I was in that office, picturing Paige walking in and asking her boss to remove a coworker from a dinner because she couldn't handle seeing him with another woman. I drove home with my hands tight on the wheel. Other people noticed. It wasn't just me being jealous or paranoid. Her own coworkers saw it. Her boss saw it. I had spent weeks wondering if I was making this into something bigger than it was. Turns out I might have been making it smaller. I pulled into the driveway and didn't get out for 10 minutes. Just sat with my hands on the wheel, staring at the garage door. The evidence was stacking up, and it was all pointing somewhere I didn't want to look. Paige was at the table with her laptop open, screen dark. "I think we should talk before tomorrow." I sat across from her. "Okay, I know how this looks, but nothing has ever happened with Drew. We are friends. That's it." Same look she always gave when she was being convincing. "Then why did you go to Diane's office to get him uninvited?" Her face fell all at once. "She told you. She's my friend, Paige. She tells me things, the same way Drew tells you things." She pushed back from the table. "You and my boss comparing notes about me. Do you know how that makes me feel? Probably the same way it makes me feel when you and Drew compare notes about your life and I find out last." She got louder. "I'm going to that dinner and you're going to see there is nothing between me and Drew." "Okay, prove it." Wednesday, she went straight from work. I drove to Diane's alone, got there about 15 minutes early, which turned out to be perfect because she opened the door with a wooden spoon in one hand and a glass of red wine in the other, and she handed me the wine before I even stepped inside. "You're early. Good. Taste this and tell me if it needs more lime." Her apartment smelled like coconut milk and lemongrass and something spicy that hit the back of my throat in a good way. I tried the curry paste off the spoon and told her it was perfect. A few of the team members were already there, standing around the kitchen island with drinks, and Diane introduced me to each of them. I shook hands, asked what they did on the team, made the kind of easy small talk that comes naturally when you're not the one with something to prove. I was relaxed, genuinely relaxed. The front door opened and Paige walked in. She didn't say hi to anyone first. She scanned the room the way you scan a parking lot when you can't find your car, fast and sharp, and her eyes found me standing next to Diane with a wine glass in my hand and a smile still on my face. Her jaw tightened. I could see it from across the room. She put on a smile and walked over to greet a couple of her teammates, but she kept glancing back at me and Diane like she was keeping score of how many times we laughed. 10 minutes later, Drew came in with a woman. Dark hair, quiet energy. First name Paulina. He introduced her as someone he'd been hanging out with for a few weeks. He brought her over to meet Paige. Paige smiled the bathroom mirror smile, wide enough to show teeth and hollow behind the eyes. She held Paulina's hand a beat too long. Drew looked at Paige with Paulina standing right there. "You look nice tonight." Paige's smile flickered. "Thanks." Paulina's eyes went between them. Her hand dropped. Her smile got smaller. Dinner started. I was next to Diane. Paige was directly across from Drew and Paulina. I fell into easy conversation with Diane about a new restaurant near the train station. Paige was barely eating. Across from her, Drew was leaning toward Paulina, whispering. She laughed. He touched her arm. Paige picked up her wine glass. He whispered again. Paige picked up the glass. He fixed a strand of Paulina's hair. Paige picked up the glass. He leaned in close and said something that made Paulina cover her mouth while she laughed. Paige picked up the glass a fourth time. 4 times in 15 minutes. I counted. Diane nudged my elbow. "Your girlfriend hasn't said a word in 10 minutes. I know." She raised her voice to the table. "What's the best part about working on this team?" People answered. "Projects, clients, flexibility." Then Drew. "The people. I wouldn't survive that office without certain people in it." And he looked at Paige. Not a glance, not a sweep. Directly at Paige. 2 full seconds. Not at Paulina, the woman he brought as his date. Paige's face turned red, climbing from the neck up. Paulina looked down at her plate, going quiet in the way someone goes quiet when they suddenly feel like they're in the wrong room. I took a slow sip and said nothing. Diane cleared her throat and jumped in with something safer, but the table felt it. Everyone had heard what Drew said. Everyone had seen where he looked. Even the people who might have missed it could feel the shift. That sudden awkward weight that drops over a group when someone says something that means way more than it should. After dinner, I was rinsing a plate when Paige came up behind me. "Can I talk to you?" Hallway, dim lamp, her eyes glassy. "I need to leave." "Why?" "Because I can't sit there and watch this anymore." "Watch what, Paige?" She covered her face. "I don't know. I need to go home. You told me you'd prove there was nothing going on. We haven't even had dessert. Please, take me home." "Okay, but when we get home, you're going to tell me the truth. All of it." We drove in silence. I closed the apartment door behind us, and the click sounded louder than it should have. I pulled out a chair at the table. "Sit down." She sat across from me, fingers laced tight, knuckles pale. "I'm going to ask you questions, and I need you to answer honestly. The truth." She nodded, small and quick. "When Drew told the table he wouldn't survive the office without certain people, and he looked at you, not at Paulina, what did you feel?" Long silence, voice small. "I felt good." "Why?" "Because it meant he still..." She trailed off. "I don't know." "You do know." Her eyes were wet. "Because it meant he still thinks about me that way, even with her there." My chest burned. I kept my hands flat on the table. "Have you and Drew ever talked about being together?" She shook her head fast. "No, never." "Have you ever wanted to?" The room went still. Her chin trembled. "I've thought about it." I exhaled slow. "How often?" "I don't know. Sometimes. When things between us feel routine, I think about what it would be like, but I never acted on it. You get dressed up for drinks with him. You text him every day. You tried to get him uninvited because you couldn't handle seeing him with someone else. Paige, at what point does thinking about it become acting on it?" Her face crumbled. She started crying. Real crying. The kind where words break in your mouth. "I didn't mean for this to happen. Drew was just there, every day, being nice to me, in ways that felt easy. It wasn't planned. It built up. You told me it was a thing. Work husband. Everybody has one. You made me feel crazy for questioning it. I know. You told me I was being jealous. I know. You told me to trust you. I know." Each time her voice got smaller. "And when I made a real platonic friend with your boss, you lost your mind. You said it was inappropriate. You said people were talking." She pressed a napkin to her face. "Because I knew what it looked like," she said. "I knew because I knew what mine actually was." The sentence dropped in the middle of the room and neither of us moved. "Say that again." Barely a whisper. "I knew your friendship with Diane looked bad because I knew my friendship with Drew wasn't what I said it was, and I was scared you'd figure that out." I leaned back. "So every time you told me it was nothing, every time you called me jealous, every time you said work husband like it was some cute label I was stupid for not understanding, you knew." The smallest nod. I knew. I sat there for a long time after she said that. I don't know how long. The kitchen felt different now. The same table, the same chairs, the same fridge humming the same note, but everything had changed because the thing I'd been chasing for weeks was finally sitting in front of me, and it looked exactly the way I was afraid it would. I stood up. Behind me she was crying softly, the quiet kind that comes after. "I'm not going to yell at you, but I need you to hear this. You didn't just lie about Drew. You made me the villain for seeing what was right in front of me. You used a label to dress up something real and told me I was crazy for noticing. And when I did the same thing, a real friendship with no feelings, you panicked because you knew the difference. You always knew the difference." She looked at me with nothing left behind her eyes except the truth, raw and late. "What happens now?" I picked up my keys from the counter. The metal was cold. "Now I'm going for a drive. And when I come back, you decide if you want to be honest going forward or keep performing, because I'm done watching the show." I walked to the door and pulled it shut behind me. The click was soft, almost gentle, and for some reason that quiet little sound felt heavier than a slam ever could have. I stood on the step for a second, keys in my hand, then walked to my car. Behind me, Paige sat alone at the table. Drew's name was still at the top of her messages.